allow for students, so you can appeal there. If you changed your marital status, you got married and or divorced. And then if your child support or Social Security benefits end. So a lot of times kids and parents lose child support at 18, and your Social Security benefits also are stopped if you were on those. So if those stopped, you can appeal your financial aid. So when you write the appeal letter, you keep it short, no more than 2 pages. You summarize each circumstance. So if you had more than one of these circumstances, you would write a paragraph on each one and explain it. And then you'd state the impact on your family. So you can say, my parents worked 40 hours a week at $10 an hour, and now we're at working for 15 hours a week at $7 an hour, and explain that. Don't ask for a specific amount of money, because they'll tend to give it to you and you tend to lowball what they would normally give you. So let the financial aid office decide. Be specific with dates and amounts. So your parents lost their job on or reduced hours on March 16th, and this is what happened. And then you can do the impact of the circumstances on your family. Just be polite when you're doing it, not demanding, and then thank them for their time and consideration. So documents you need to provide, things like layoff notices or your bank accounts. You can show them that you have less money in an auto pay from your paycheck, your medical or dental bills, any receipts, like if your house was destroyed, you have receipts to repair it, W-2s. If you don't have some of this stuff, you can get a statement written from your teacher or social worker or counselor. So like if you had a death in the family, your clergy could write and say how this affected you. Make sure you, again, don't send the originals, make copies. And then make sure you keep a log of every time you do something with the financial aid office. Make sure you write down who you talked to, the name of the person, the time, and the date. And then when you go back, and you can say to them, well, I called the office 3 times on these 3 dates and talked to these 3 specific people. So there's this website, it's called formswift.com, Swift-student, and this is just a way to get you started on your letter. It looks something like this, and it says, how can I request a change to my college financial aid package? And then it gives you, it lets you figure out, are you eligible? It tells you what documents you need. It tells you how to write it and how do you submit it. So it's a starting off place to help you. Then how do you ask for more financial aid if financial aid doesn't capture my financial difficulty? You can click on that, and the letter will be more tailored to that. So here you just click that, and then here you click on create my document, and it will help you write that letter, craft that letter. I will say that from our experience, it's a generic letter. The more details you can add to it and your specifics, the better the letter will be. So if you need help, you can contact us, or you can contact the Y, whichever, but we can help you with that financial aid. So that is really quick. And I think that it is just the few things left you have to do to be well on your way. It is mid-July. Once the financial aid office is open, whether they're virtual or they're in person, the financial aid office line to get help, the closer you get to school, is long. At U of H, it used to wrap around the building twice, and it was a 2 or 3 hour wait the week before school started. So you don't want to be in that position. You don't want to wait out in the heat for that. You don't want to be that socially not distanced from people. So if you can do as much ahead of time, then the better off you'll be. Any questions, comments? Bree, I know you've worked on some. Do you have any comments on appealing?
Yes, just putting some things in the chat. So like I said in the chat, and like Gladys is also saying, try not to be vague with your appeals. This is your chance to kind of ask for more money if you see that the aid that they have already given you isn't enough. We always say that, you know, it's better not to have any regrets. So anything that you think will help them make a decision, anything that you think can kind of work in your favor. So you're going to be submitting attachments, submitting additional documentation, but anything that you can spell out in your letter also. So you might add your 2018 taxes and your 2019 taxes to show that there was a $10,000 decrease in income for your parents. I would also put that in your letter just in case they don't go through your additional documents as neatly or as deeply as you would like. Spell out everything. Your chances of appealing an appeal isn't very great. So anything that you can tell them the first time around to get them to make a good decision, that would be best. And then, of course, like Kathy said, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to text us or email us or contact the Y, and they can get in contact with us. Like Kathy said, these schools have these extra funds, whether it be from the government and the CARES Act. Notable alumni are even kind of giving a little bit more back to their alma maters because they understand how much COVID is affecting students.
And the most they can say is no. So, you know, if you don't ask, you can't get it. You have to ask. So they're not just going to come up and say, here's $10,000. I heard through the grapevine there was something going on with your family. They don't do that. So better to ask and see what happens if your situation is changed. Okay, so I'm going to pass it off to Bree.
Hello, guys. I know on one of our other calls, we had Bria come in. She was the UTSA alum who had just graduated in May to kind of talk about her experience. Today, we have a few more college students. They are current college students ranging from incoming sophomores and an incoming junior. So I'll ask them a couple of questions. They'll give us their feedback, talk about their experiences, any advice that they may have while they are doing that or after they're doing that. You guys feel free to, same thing like we did last time, put your questions in the chat and we'll get those answered at the end, okay? So we'll go ahead and get started. We have 5 current college students. I will let them introduce themselves, give their name, the university they attend, their classification, as well as their major or minor.
And can we also ask for the students if y'all are able to turn on your cameras so that these college students can see you guys? It's so much easier to talk when you have some faces there. Thanks.
Okay, so hi, my name is Elizabeth. I go to Texas A&M University. I'm going to be a sophomore in the fall, like they said, and my major is allied health.
How's everyone doing? My name is Iman Davis. I'm a rising sophomore business student at Howard University in DC, and I minor in political science and from Houston, Texas, but originally born in New Orleans, Louisiana. So that's me.
Mary, I think you're up.
Mary, are you on mute?
Now you're unmuted. Try talking.
AirPods weren't working, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Mary Mendez, and I'm a rising sophomore at Texas State University in San Marcos. And my major is criminal justice, and I'm minoring in forensic psychology.
Hi guys, my name is Jarius Terry. I go to Prairie View A&M University. My classification is a sophomore this year, and my major is kinesiology.
Hey y'all, my name is Itmam Azad. I'm a junior at UT Austin this year. I'm going into my junior year. I'm a civil engineering major, and I'm also doing a minor in business.
All righty. Thank you guys for introducing yourselves. So we'll get right into the questions. Like I said, some of it is your experiences. Some of it is advice that you would have or that you would give. So a lot has changed in the last few months, obviously. So what was your favorite part of college pre-COVID? So if we ever get back to whatever normal looks like, what are some things that our students get to look forward to?
So for me, I loved hanging out with my college friends. It was just a newfound freedom that I've had. And I just love going around like the College Station, Bryan area and going to coffee shops and just studying there.
Well, for me, my favorite thing, I lived in Houston, graduated from North Shore Senior High on the east side of Houston. And so I went off to school in DC, and that's which is like 1,600 miles away from home. And so for me, my favorite part about, college before COVID was just getting to know myself in like another sense. Like the people at Howard probably know me different from the people, my high school friends, basically. And not to say like I'm two people, like I'm not to say like I'm two people and like I'm one certain person in Houston and one certain person in DC, but I just carry myself differently when my mother or I'm not in the house with my twin brother and being monitored rather than being in DC by myself and doing what I want to do whenever I want to, and just going at my own pace throughout the day and really just telling myself, if I have to sit down and do work right now, I have to, get it done right now, and then I can enjoy time with friends later. And it's really just peaceful. It was really just peaceful for me being by myself and just realizing that there are certain things you need to do throughout the day, and then you can have fun. And so for me, that was the most thing that I enjoyed.
I like going out with my friends in San Marcos, and we would go to San Antonio or Austin, since San Marcos is right in between those two major cities. And sometimes we'll go to outlets in San Marcos. So yeah, just hanging out with my friends. That's the thing I miss most about college pre-COVID. Yeah.
I would definitely say being independent, being away from my parents, basically learning a lot of things on my own, like when to study or when to go to parties, when to squeeze in something to eat, basically just all this adapting. So like, it was kind of weird for me because like when I came back home, like basically when I was on my own, I was like washing my clothes on my own, cleaning my room and all that stuff. And my parents used to tell me to do that stuff all the time. So when I came back from college, it was weird because I was doing it on my own. And my parents were like, what the? So, it was kind of just weird for them. But I basically learned a lot of things on my own. So
I think the best part, this past year, I joined a lot of really cool student orgs that really kept me busy. One of the most interesting ones I joined was this Longhorn meditation group, where I met some really cool people that taught me a lot about spirituality and meditation. And all of that has grown to be a huge part of my life right now. And it's like been a really big part of getting me through COVID and everything. So I'm just super fortunate to have met those people this past year. And they're probably the best part of my year.
Very nice. So yes, I can only imagine, having to leave campus in the middle of the semester, you're just kind of getting to know your roommates and getting acclimated to campus. And for some of us, getting acclimated to really just being a college student altogether. So thank y'all for that advice. So, you're going to have a lot of new people that you meet in college. You're going to join a lot of great organizations. So hopefully when everything gets back to normal, you guys can have those things to look forward to. So did any of you ever consider attending a community college right after high school? If so, why did you choose to go straight to a 4-year university instead of stopping at community college first?
So for me, I always kind of knew that I was going to go off to a 4-year university. So going to a community college was just kind of not an option in my mind, just because I've always wanted to go to graduate school. So it was better just to make that leap from 4-year to graduate school, then from community college to 4-year and then to graduate school, just to lessen that burden of just transferring. And I also wanted to experience like the true college life. I know you guys won't be able to right now, but for me, staying in Houston wouldn't have let me do that. So I wanted to choose a 4-year away from home that could let me do that.
Well, for me personally, I took dual credit throughout my junior and senior year while I was in high school. And so just for that reason, I, made it like attending a community college of my choice was just not going to happen because I already got my basics out the way. And if I went to a community college, I would be taking like probably, six other credits that I could possibly take and transfer. And so, but if you were not taking dual credit in high school, it's really just up to you personally. But I would have went to a community college because just going to a 4-year university, well, at Howard, tuition is let alone $27,000, and to live out there and go to school, I think the estimated cost of attendance was $48,000. And to be honest, if you're just taking basic courses, your first semester, I would tell you just go to community college and get like your English, your maths, any other general requirements that you might need before you go into your major classes out the way, because you really will be saving a lot of money. I personally went throughout my freshman year not paying a single penny because my senior year I got like over, I think, $50,000 worth of scholarships. And so just for me to be up there for free and see other people paying out of pocket just to take regular classes, well, not regular, but like, general ed classes, and kind of stressing themselves out about how they're going to pay for class, and they're taking, not even the same classes I am. It was kind of like, it just wasn't okay for me. And so, yeah, so if you haven't taken dual credit or have earned any college credit, whether it be AP or IB, I don't know if any of you all take that, I would certainly suggest, attend a community college to get them out of the way.
For me, I considered that time because it was something my parents wanted me to do, but it was just something that I wanted to do. I always wanted to go to a 4-year university, and I chose Texas State because I felt like I was at home there, and I really liked the feeling there. But yeah, I did consider it, but it was more of my parents' choice than mine. But I'm glad I chose this for university though. I really like it there.
I agree with Amon. Basically, taking the basics in my junior and senior year of high school with dual credit kind of let me lead into my 4-year university. So if you guys would definitely do that, that definitely helps a lot.
Me personally, I actually ended up deciding to go to UT a little bit late. I hadn't received a really great financial aid package from them, and I was waiting on a bunch of local scholarships to come through. So while I was waiting, I definitely considered going to a community college, but I ultimately settled on a 4-year, a little bit because of the connections that they offer. So a typical 4-year can probably open up more doors and provide you with more resources and opportunities than a community college. But like Elizabeth said, it was mainly because of I kind of wanted a sense of that college experience, and going off to live in another city is a better way to do that than going to your local community college.
I would like to add on because, like, just looking at it from my viewpoint, I can say what I would do in the situation. But, obviously, if you have a good amount of scholarships going to a 4-year and you won't be paying much out of pocket, then I would say go to the 4-year because of what Imam just said. the opportunities that you will have at the four-year university compared to a community college probably don't compare, to none at all. And so if you have a good amount of scholarships and you won't be paying that much out of pocket to go to a four-year, then don't feel bad for taking basics, your freshman year, because, you're still in a good position either way. And, but if you don't have a good amount of scholarships and, you're not financially able to take out a loan, or you won't be accepted to take out a loan for your freshman year, you might just have to take that cut and, save that money and then be applying to scholarships while you're at your community college and just, make it work that way. That's just something I want to add on.
So like they mentioned, everyone's, experience is going to be a little bit different. Everyone's path is different. Everyone's, financial situation is different. I think one of the important things here is if you can plan. So Iman said that, had he not had all of his scholarship money, he might not have been able to attend Howard straight out of high school. So if you guys can apply for scholarships now, the sooner the better. If you can apply for outside scholarships or your institutional scholarships, scholarships that may only be offered to students at your high school or in your community, your district, apply for all the scholarships that you can so that when it does come time to making the decision of a 2-year or a 4-year, you'll be able to make that decision, and finances might not be as big of a burden or as much something that will impact your decision. So next question. So of course, COVID has changed a lot. So give us maybe something that COVID has changed. How has your experience changed because of it? Your college experience, of course, and then what has been the most difficult aspect regarding those changes? So I know we've had the transition to online courses, coming home might have been kind of difficult. What was your biggest difficulty and why was it so difficult?
I would say it was just a change in mindset, because once we, after spring break, we were told to come home for the stay-at-home orders that they gave for our colleges or whatever. It really just stopped my student mindset, because I felt like I was in vacation mode, which is sad to say, but I did feel like I was in school, like I didn't have any responsibilities. And so I really struggled like coming back for the online classes and seeing that, oh, I still need to keep up with my classes, since it was, yeah, sorry. That's about it.
Excuse noise, but for me, I was going through a personally stressful semester. Well, my second semester, I can't really say it. My second semester was very stressful for me. And so coming home, I considered it a blessing in my opinion, because it really gave me a lot more time to reflect on the things I went through my second semester, and just a lot more time to, be with my twin brother at the house and just to chill and relax and not be so stressed about, a day in the life of a college student at Howard University, which is very busy for me. And so it really was a blessing. And so I just committed my time to doing class, a lot more Netflix. I also journal a lot. And so I journal as well, because, just for personal reasons. And so it was a blessing in my opinion. And I try to make the best out of every situation. So that's what I'll say to you as well. Just try to make the best out of every situation.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. And for me, it wasn't, the college experience wasn't as much fun as being on campus, because you're just at home doing nothing, just going through calls and completing assignments. It wasn't as much fun as as it would have been if I was at my campus, but it was a blessing, I guess, because I got to see my family more than I would have if I would have stayed back on campus. So.
I had really no problem like switching to online classes, at home, but I was kind of upset because like right after spring break, basically like first week in April or like last week in April or something, PV has like Spring Fest, which is basically like parties all week. So I was kind of upset that we wasn't gonna get to do none of that, you know what I'm saying? But basically just adapting to the online courses was pretty easy for me, you know, just going back home, making sure I get my work done, and like Amon said, doing Netflix, you know, kind of just stuck in the house, bored in the house, stuck, whatever the saying does.
Okay, so I've been really fortunate to not have been directly impacted by COVID. So a lot of the trouble I've had adjusting was in regards to like missing that college life like these guys. And this past year was my sophomore year of college. My freshman year, I didn't really go out a lot or at all. But my sophomore year, I really tried to soak in more of that college experience. So I've met more people and I got closer to a lot of people, you know, people who I really like being around. I was also really close to my roommates. So to not be able to talk to them on the regular and to not be able to see them on the regular has been really hard to adjust to.
I know everyone kind of mentioned the transition to online courses, so that's perfect segue for this next question. What has, you know, you all's experience been taking online courses? What advice would you give to incoming freshmen that might have to take part of their course load online?
So online classes are not, honestly, they're not the worst. They can actually be pretty good, especially for classes that you wouldn't regularly understand if it was like in face-to-face lecture. Like for my math class, for my second semester, I know I was really struggling for just getting the material down with my professor. But when we switched to online classes, thankfully we we got our new professor to teach us all the new material, and it was a lot easier to digest and really understand the material. Thankfully I passed the class. So there's also that. You guys can adjust to the course load also. And for advice, I would make sure that you know all your due dates, all your assignments, your test dates, and make like a little to-do list to yourself. You can write down like what assignments are due, when, like what you need to do, basically what you need to study for that day, and everything you need to do. Because that's what I did, at least for my semester.
Like Elizabeth said, I was taking a math class, college algebra 2, they call it, my second semester as well, and I was struggling. I was really struggling in that class. I had a new professor, and so she kind of wasn't, I guess, acclimated or used to teaching, and so she kind of went very fast, and I can go on and on. So I really wasn't doing well in my algebra class, and coming home, it really just gave me more time to sit down and study, and just more time to, you know, sit with myself, and whether it be a YouTube video or have calling a friend, or, you know, using a phone app or something to help me with a question. It was just better overall for me, and I passed class with a B. Didn't even know I was gonna do that, and so that's another reason why I consider COVID a blessing for me. But advice for you all with online classes: just ignore your lazy self and do the work, because, you know, a lot of times we don't want to get out of bed, we want to watch this movie, or we want to, you know, anything. So just ignore your lazy self and just, you know, get the work done. And then whenever you get the work done, you can do the things you wanted to do. And it's that simple.
Mary was trying to dial in. I'm not sure if she made it in, so we can maybe skip to the next.
Okay, Jarius, if you could go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, basically my experience with the online course has been pretty good. Oh, am I echoing?
You were, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, the online courses were pretty good. My advice would be to like treat the online courses as if like you're actually on the campus. Make sure you stay on top of doing your study and doing your work because it's not any different. The only difference is that you're probably in bed, you know, and you don't really have to. Well, you can wake up, you know, when you need to wake up and all of that. So basically, just stay on top of it so that way you don't get behind still.
Okay, like everyone's been saying, online classes really aren't that bad. It just takes a little while to get used to them. Most people understand that in college, there's really no one holding your hand. And with everything going online, it just kind of takes that to the very next level. So you just have a lot more responsibility to shoulder. You know, so if you're an incoming freshman, I think it's been said so many times, and most of us can attest to it. It's really easy to get a little too comfortable while you're working from home. So what I suggest is you try to be just hyper aware. And if you catch yourself slipping up a little bit, you know, missing Zoom lectures, don't let that become a habit. And one thing I really noticed worked for me is a planner to schedule your entire day. So whenever you're a little bit unmotivated and really not in the mood for work, just take a look at that planner and just get on with what you're supposed to be doing. I think that's what made a huge difference for me this past year.
Okay, so CCC and the Y, we work with a lot of different students from, you know, all over the greater Houston area. And many of our students might be questioning whether or not they should continue with college with everything going on, you know, with the pandemic happening. If their classes are online, some are thinking, you know, maybe I'll just take a year off or maybe I just won't do college. What advice would you give to students that are having those doubts?
I would say don't pass up this opportunity that college is online. It uses as a transition stage because let's see, you can be adjusting to the course load, especially now since you don't have all the pressures of being in school and just getting the routine down, I would say, and just you can be at home and comfortably start to gradually adjust to the course load. So I would definitely wouldn't take off time of college because it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, like everyone's been saying.
I would say that it's also a good time to be in college right now. For my school personally, they released out a plan for our reopening fall plans, stating that if you wanted to stay home, you can, or if you wanted to come back to campus, you can, but most classes are going to be online. And for me, doing the math, I'm going to be saving almost $9,000 just staying home and taking online classes, not coming out of pocket for anything. And so I think like there are also good opportunities during this time as well, whether it be financially saving your money or staying home and doing online classes, committing your time to other things such as, you know, if you know your writing skills aren't good enough, you know, taking an additional online writing class and committing more time to that and writing outside of school, whether it be, you know, you personally reading a book or something, writing an essay on it, anything. So it's just good things as well that's going on throughout this time with all the bad that's going on. And so I just gave you a personal example of how something good that has affected me throughout this time, and I'm probably gonna be staying home throughout the fall to save that money.
Oh, she's still in it. Okay. Um, yeah, basically, I would say, yeah, continue to stay through and to stick with it. Because, yeah, it is kind of like a lesson in disguise, how Elizabeth said, with the online courses. It'll help you transition without having the hectic of being on the campus and having to deal with, you know, a bunch of stuff going on because, you know, you're kind of in your own space and doing your own thing. And it'll teach you responsibility. So I definitely say like stick with it and keep going with it. Don't look at it as a challenge. Look at it as like a way to help you.
I definitely understand why people are debating going to college right now. Most people look forward to college and the whole independence thing, and that comes along with it. But those same online classes aren't as tempting. But for the incoming freshmen, and I think these guys all said it, it's definitely a blessing. You know, you guys get the opportunity to gauge these classes and to figure out how to be successful in college without being distracted or possibly overloaded by everything that a college offers. So you're not going to get swamped by everything going on in college. And it's really just a good chance for you to focus on grades and academics. And it's going to make that transition a lot smoother when you physically get to college, since you're already going to be down with what works for you when it comes to grades.
Absolutely, Imam. I think that's a good point that all of you guys have mentioned. I feel like if college teaches you anything, it really teaches you how to kind of roll with the punches and just kind of keep going, keep moving after things happen. You know, you might fail a test, but you got to figure it out for the next test or the next quiz. Unfortunately, a pandemic has happened, so the pushback might be a little bit bigger, but I think everything that they've mentioned is absolutely right. You know, when you're on that college campus, you're trying to get involved, you're trying to meet new people, you're trying to, you know, remember that you have to eat and you have to get to class on time. So when things go online, if they, you know, go strictly online, you'll be able to focus just on your classes. So like Mom said, when campuses fully open back up and you can go back to campus for that full experience, you'll be able to kind of integrate, okay, now I can get involved on campus, and you'll know how to manage your time a little bit better. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. How did you all choose your college major? Did you change your college major? How has that process been if you did have to change it? And if you didn't change it, how did you know that this is what you wanted to study?
So for me, I've always wanted to do something in healthcare just because I find the human body fascinating, and I want to help others who, you know, are sick and all that stuff. So I chose a major that will help me go into medical school, which is graduate school, and become a doctor. So that's why I chose a science heavy major to get all those prereqs just built in with my degree plan. And as for change of majors, I've actually changed my major twice now, just from science to science. So it wasn't that difficult since almost all of the courses transferred. So I would say don't be scared to change your major. It's going to be fine. Like, nobody really cares at college, so you just do what you need to do. And yeah.
Well, for me, I'm an arguer, so I like arguing with people, whether it was friends or, you know, my brother, sometimes my mama, even though I'm not supposed to say it, but I like arguing. So I wanted to be an attorney in high school. And so the way I thought about it was I would own my own practice, so to say. And so I chose business and management as my major entering Howard because I would learn the skills to run my own firm and be like the owner, so to say. And now that I am a business student, I've been thinking about becoming a consultant lately. And so it's not so much as if I changed my major, but I have changed my aspirations. And so, you know, that's how I chose my major.
Can y'all hear me? Okay. For me, I'm a criminal justice major, and I chose it because it's gonna sound a little silly, but ever since I was little, I love watching true crime shows and just shows with crime. And I love my favorite show is Criminal Minds, and I always love looking at the psychological side of crime, of like why people do certain things and why people commit crimes and stuff. And I just chose criminal justice because I guess it was a closer major to what I kind of wanted to do, I guess. And I haven't changed my major since I entered college. And it can be hard for my major sometimes because I took a class that I had to memorize the statutes of the Texas Penal Code, which is the laws, like all the laws. It's difficult to do, but like I really enjoy criminal justice and that side of this side of the criminal justice system. And I ended up getting an A in the class. So I feel like if you love doing what you do, you end up doing good in school. So yeah.
I chose my major based off of two things. One, that I love sports, and second, that I love to help people. So I'm taking kinesiology for coaching and physical education. But basically, when it comes to your major, just do something that you're passionate about because that's what you'll be willing to work at. So if you do have to change your major a couple of times, like don't be scared to do it. So just really focus on finding what you love to do.
So I've always been really into designing things, and I'm really into the behind the scenes process of how things are built. So civil engineering just fit that mold really well. I also looked into the job growth rate to make sure I'd be employed by the time I graduated, and like average salary, payout, and whatnot to make sure it's enough to sustain the lifestyle I wanted for myself. That's why I ended up picking civil engineering. I've never actually changed my major, but I do know a bunch of people that have. And to be honest, internal transfers are fairly competitive, especially if you're trying to transfer into a business or any STEM majors. So if you're thinking about changing your major, I know that GPA is a huge part of that. So as long as you keep your GPA up throughout your first few semesters in college, you'll definitely have a good shot in getting into the major you want to get into.
Alrighty. Last question before we open it up to the student questions. I guess what is one last piece of advice that you have for incoming freshmen that are going to be pursuing their bachelor's degree? So anything, whether it be, you know, the campus life, student org, class, the college experience, what's one last piece of advice you'd like to share?
I would say like this is more academic advice, but try to join live Zoom lectures whenever you can because it's really easy to slack off. And if you put it off for later, you're like, oh, I can just watch this later. I can guarantee you will not watch it later until like maybe a few days before the exam, and you need to get that material down beforehand. So I highly recommend you tune into your live lectures.
My advice is just to give yourself a break, going through the motions every day. You can just, it's easy to get caught up and just, you know, follow a typical schedule. You've seen other people do a lot of things and you're not doing as much, or, you're just doing a lot already and you just think you can't sit down and breathe for a minute. It's okay to give yourself a break and, watch a TV show on Netflix and then go to the library 2 hours later, or, go eat some lunch and talk with friends for about 30 minutes and, probably go out to eat or go out to the movies or something. Like, it's okay to give yourself breaks throughout the week and like just really sit down and breathe and think to yourself about your day, reflect, I would just personally say like start journaling, because college is really stressful, and writing your thoughts down has really worked for me, and I think it'll work for you as well. And so just give yourself breaks and don't really, stress yourself out if you really don't need to. So that's my advice.
Hello. I would say don't get. Oh, can you hear me? I don't know.
Yes, you're good.
Okay. I would say don't get too stressed if you don't know what you want to do after college, because most of the people there don't know what they want to do either. Also, if you don't get a good grade on an assignment, don't worry too much about it. Everybody has those days. Just don't get too stressed on the bad things in college, because there's always the good side. Just always try to look at the positive side, and don't stress yourself too much. Go out with friends, and then you still have time to study. Don't get into that zone that you're gonna do really bad at college. You're not. Go out with friends, or just go out by yourself. Go out of your dorm room soon, so your mental health doesn't get as bad as other people. Because I've met some people, and all they do is be in the dorm room. Is not a good place to be, especially when you're in college alone. Yeah.
I would say a last piece of advice is definitely to keep your studies first. So because it is really easy to get distracted and think about so many other things to do. You want to keep your eyes on the goal and the prize of getting that bachelor's degree, definitely. And you want to work hard to get it. So, but like Aman said, it is okay every now and then to, have a break, go out, hang out with friends, go do whatever it is you want to do, but just make sure that in the end, you get your business done first.
So college, once you guys get there, I think it's really important to just step back once in a while and just to soak in college and just to be present. You know, like Amon said, when you're there day to day, it might get really busy. You know, you can have a lot on your plate and overloaded schedule. So just every once in a while, just back up, you know, breathe, and just make sure you're enjoying yourself. As important as grades are, like Jerry has said, it's key that you guys come out of these 4 years with more than just a degree. You know, try to meet some people, make some memories. I mean, it all sounds super vague, but it's only because it's important for you to discover what you like, and you have to make that your experience. So that's just try to make the most of college when you're there.
All righty. So I do see that we have a couple of questions in the chat. So the first question, it's kind of like a two-part, I guess. So how was finals? Due to COVID, her university has already said that their finals will be held online during Christmas break. So talk to us a little bit how that looks like. No specific order.
Yeah, finals were, I would say, for my summer class, I would say this is probably going to be like the norm going on, but we had to install a lockdown browser for your computer. So make sure you have a good computer first and good stable internet connection, because during this lockdown browser, they record you taking the test and making sure that you're not cheating or anything. So finals are, you know, kind of like regularly you have to bring the knowledge from your head. You can't bring like outside sources or your notes. So you should be kind of, you know, used to that. But besides that, it's just, you just have to make sure that your surroundings are, you know, they're quiet, I would say. So finals aren't that bad.
Anyone else want to elaborate that? How maybe Eat Mom, you're an upperclassman. How did you prepare for finals before COVID? And then I guess this past semester, did that look any different when you prepared because all of the classes were online, or did you treat it like it was just a regular final?
Finals for me is a really overwhelming time, I think, because I was someone that procrastinated a lot. So final season, I just it was like from 8 to 8 p.m. It was just like straight up studying for like 12 hours a day, which is not what I recommend you guys do. Like, try to balance it out. But before COVID, I think what I did was I used to have a designated spot where I would study every day. So maybe it's a certain spot in the library or a certain part of campus. And just going there every day instead of my apartment just would put me in the mood to study. And I recommend doing that. When you're at home, it's really hard to designate that spot because you're in your room most of the time, and just like there's no, you know, it's kind of just like a gray space between watching Netflix or studying. So it's hard to differentiate between that. But I recommend that you guys kind of, I don't know, bound off some zone in your house where you just set aside for studying, if you can do that. And that, I feel like that's gonna really get you in the ambiance to study more. It's gonna put you in the headspace to do that.
So kind of going off of that question, did you find it hard to transition and come back home? Like, how was your experience doing online classes with your family at home? Because, you know, when you're off at campus, you know, you're either in your dorm and, you know, you can just talk to your roommate, or you can leave your dorm room and go to the library. Or at least you're in an apartment with other roommates who are also probably studying. How did you kind of have that conversation with your parents so that they could remember and respect that you're still a college student even though you're in their house?
Oh, I could have the conversation with my parents like 1,000 times a day, but they'll still be like, "This is my house." But basically, yeah, they kind of just understood where I was coming from, basically the transition, and they were, you know, definitely were on me about, you know, making sure I was on my stuff. I ended up with a 3.8 GPA, but basically they kind of knew that I was gonna handle my business regardless. And so basically, yeah, just kind of let your parents know that, you know, you'd like to to show them, you know what I'm saying? You like to show them that you can handle your stuff, you know, even if they are in the house or whether they're not with y'all or whatever. So.
Yeah, going off of what Darius said, I know I would tell my parents all the time, like, please don't bother me. Like, I'm going to be in class, and they would still bother me. But especially during exams, I would just close my door and I put a little sign that, please don't come in. So I would suggest doing that. Most of the time they listen. Sometimes it wasn't that bad, but just getting it through their heads that this is like, I'm still in school, like I need to do my work. Yeah.
For me, I have 2 nieces and 2 nephews, a twin brother and a mom, all in house right now. And so, yes, it's been difficult for me because I live in an apartment already, a 2-bedroom apartment at that. And so it's like already so small. And then with kids in the house, it's just, it's very easy to get frustrated at times. Like I'm not even in my house right now doing this because, it's just hard for me to be in the house and just focus and be able to have some quiet. And so I just, once again, try to make the best of it and, just take it day by day, to be honest. That's all you can do. I get frustrated at times, but I just try to remain positive and just get the work done. That's all I can say.
I think our theme the week of our summer bridge was advocacy. So the same way you advocate, students, we talked about advocating for yourselves by voting, advocating for yourselves by submitting that financial aid appeal. Sometimes you might have to advocate to yourself or for yourself with your parents, and that's perfectly okay. That's part of becoming an adult. So, sitting them down and having that conversation, like, yes, when I'm here, of course, I'm always going to, abide by your rules. But if we could just kind of have this understanding that, I am a college student at this time, I still have to study. I still have Zoom calls and classes that I need to attend. And of course, sounds like you might have to have that conversation multiple times. But sometimes that's what advocacy is. Sometimes you have to advocate for yourself the same way multiple times. So don't be afraid to do that either with your parents or family members. So another question, have any of you failed a class or were your grades slipping? And if so, how did you bounce back from that? So this student says, with the pandemic going on, personally, their mood has kind of been up and down, sometimes on the more depressing side of things, but they're still trying to be grateful for the little things and they're trying to find ways to kind of bounce back when these things come at them, I guess. So how have you guys handled some of the setbacks of college?
I'm a little sorry, yeah. I'm a little bit too familiar with this actually. I've never failed a class, but I've been on the verge of failing my class my freshman year of college. So second semester, I think again I got a little too comfortable with college and I just kind of let myself go. I wasn't studying at all, and then my grades were slipping. I remember in my Calculus 3 class, I got a 38 on my second exam, a 38%, which isn't a good score, if you guys are wondering. But so after that, I had like a very low point. I remember I actually talked to my roommates about it. I broke down that night, and I was just like, this isn't for me. I don't belong here. And it's a really weird feeling to have in college. And I feel like it's something that everyone does have at some point. It's this feeling that you don't belong there because you see all these people, balancing all these plates all the time. And it's just like, am I enough? Like, do I really deserve to be here? To answer that question, you got in, you belong, and then you have to convince yourself that, I don't know how to say it, but like, I just kind of wake up and just repeat that mantra in my head a lot. Like, I'm enough, I belong, and whatnot. And for that depression thing, that was like a serious problem for me my freshman year, like mental health, mental sanity. It's something that's why I'm all hippie now, because of how much I dived into meditation after that. But they have resources for you guys. There's resources for mental health. There's resources to help you understand what you're feeling. And I feel like, to be honest, as long as you prioritize your mental sanity, everything just kind of falls in place after that. So after I cleared up my head, my grades, you know, they got a lot better my freshman year. And I ended up finishing up my freshman year with a pretty decent GPA. And it was just like everything, honestly, it's just mental health is the really crucial part of this thing. If there's a takeaway from this, from what I'm saying, just prioritize your mental sanity over everything else. And then just everything just falls into place after that.
What to add on? So a little bit about me and my situation at Howard. I'm on a scholarship at Howard College, a leadership scholarship, and I need to maintain a 3.0. Well, it was a 3.0 each and every year to, have a scholarship the next year. And so my first semester, I did just that, a 3.0. And so it was really a lot of stress on me spring semester to increase my GPA because, I don't want to go through all my 4 years on the brink of losing scholarship by, 1 point. And so, as I mentioned earlier, my math class was just a struggle for me. Everything else was great. Everything else was great. It was just the math class, and it was just one class for me. I literally had an A in every other class besides my math class. And so, it was hard. Mom hit it on point. I questioned if I belonged at a four-year university. I questioned if I belonged, in school. Sometimes sometimes I was like, I need to get us a break. It was just a lot of thoughts going through my head while I was at school and going through the emotions of going to math class. And it was just major anxiety I went through while in DC. And so that's, another reason why I consider COVID a blessing, because I'm over here stressing about this class. I come home and I have more time to study and just more time to commit and pass this class. And I end up doing so with a B. But for you, if you are not in a situation to come home and, you're still going through a class and you have to be in class in person throughout the semester, counseling. My university personally offers free counseling. But, if your university doesn't, I would just say you need to prioritize your mental health and go to counseling, and even if you can't go to counseling, talk about it with your friends, talk about it with somebody you trust, or, as I said before, journal, write down your thoughts, reflect. And that really has helped me. And it goes a major way. And so that's what I did. And I've gotten through the stressful times, and I'm not as stressed as I was. And I don't regret going through that stress because it taught me a lot about myself. And so if you are failing the class or on the brink of failing the class, it's not the end of the world. Always know that, first of all. And just, be grateful for the little things because they do bring light to your days while you're going through a lot. And yeah, journal to yourself, go to counseling, talk to friends, have real conversations, reflect daily on, the faults that you do have with the class. And don't stray away from, actually studying for the class as well. Don't allow you to have a bad exam and then give up on the class after that, because my math class, I want to drop plenty of times. I wanted to drop my class since the first week I was in the class, but I ended up passing the class with a B, ignoring my inner self telling me to drop the class. I ended up passing the class and getting the credit, and I don't need to go through that stress anymore. And so a lot of times it's just, a moment of stress that leads you to think that it's going to be like the whole semester, so to say. Can't think of a way better to say that, but just really ignore the negative things you tell yourself, such as dropping the class, or, you don't belong in that class, or you just don't belong at Howard, because you do, and you're going to get through it.
All right. I could not agree more. You guys have given great advice. Just like we're saying in the chat, mental health is super important. I know when we speak about college, when we hear about college, it's just, oh, you got to make good grades, you got to get a 4.0, you got to get all the scholarships and all the internships. But it's really a process. It's really an experience to be had. So take advantage of it, of all aspects of it. There will be times where, just like they're saying, you're thinking, I'm not sure I belong here, or man, I want to drop this class, or I just failed this test. There's no way I'm going to do better. There's no way I'm going to learn the material. Reach out to your friends, your counselors, your professors, CCC, any mentors that you've had that have helped you. Reach out to us and we'll definitely give you the confidence that you need to kind of continue on. We'll tell you a lot of the things that they're already telling you. And we'll just give you that extra push to kind of keep you going. Because like you said, you may feel like you need to drop the class and then the semester's over and you realize you got a B. And like you said, if you drop that class, he would have had to go through all of that all over again. But because he stuck with it, he finished it, he made changes that he needed to make, he doesn't have to worry about taking that class anymore. So that's a blessing right there. So those are all of the questions that we have, all the questions that we saw that you guys have asked. We will have another follow-up meeting with you guys here on August 3rd. We wanted to give you guys the link for today's call. So College Community Career, we are hosting a career talk with one of our board members. Her name was Raquel. She is an assistant DA here in Houston. She went to Xavier University in New Orleans for her undergrad. So she has a lot of experience. She, you know, has things that she can talk about for those of us who are interested in poli-sci or criminal justice or law. Those of us who aren't sure what we're interested in please feel free to join. I'll put the link here in the chat before we end the call, and I believe we're also sending the link out to you guys. It does start at 3, so you'll get a bit of a break before that call starts, but feel free to join that call if you have time.
So great advice from you guys today. What a positive message. You know, I am just so impressed, and I think everybody goes through these moments of doubt when you're in college, and it can be overwhelming. I think you have a wonderful cohort within this group, and I think you can reach out to each other. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to the Y. Everybody understands because we've all been there too. We all had doubts when we were in college. Props to Eat Mom for Calc 3 because that wouldn't be something I could do. But we really appreciate y'all's time. Thank you so much. Great advice. For the kids that are incoming freshmen, as Bree said, we're going to do the next and last call before you go off to college on August 3rd. If you need help in the meantime with financial aid or appealing financial aid, or you have a question about your schedule or whatever, I know Kashayla or Sherry or any of us can help you. Now you've gone through the week, you're part of all of our group. So we're excited about that. If you received an email from the YMCA to fill out some paperwork because you came to all the meetings the first week, your name was on that list. If you haven't done that, please do so. It should have come to your email. If you haven't gotten it, text us. And then you all should have also all received a text message through us. That's how after the 3rd, we'll communicate mostly with you guys. So please make sure we have your correct phone number. Thank y'all again. Y'all are awesome. I love that you want to listen and learn. That's all part of being a college student. And hopefully we'll see you on the call this afternoon. So, Kashayla, you have anything?
No, I don't have anything, Kathy. Just thank you to our guests on our panel. Y'all were amazing in the words that you spoke, although I've been removed from college for a lot of years. A lot of that I definitely experienced back then. So it's very true and very valid information. So thank y'all so much for sharing your stories and your advice. Very much appreciated. And if you have not submitted the information that Kathy was speaking about, please make sure you do that so that we can ensure that we get those stipends to your campuses in time.
So thank you guys. See you on the 3rd, if not before. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.